it or not, Mortal Kombat has the best soundtrack, I think, other than Enter the Dragon, of any movie in the history of martial arts movies. So, I mean, that's such a powerful one. I was looking at it just the other day because I was looking at some of your fight sequences. The soundtrack came on. I jumped down. I was like, I wanted to work out instantly. I wanted to go to my gym and just work out. That is some of the most dynamic movie, I mean, soundtrack ever. And how many forms have been done to that, and weapons been done to that soundtrack. So that's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, it's
What was your
iconic.
expression, your perspective going from a low budget film? Because most of the films we were doing back then were low budget to mainstream. Like Mortal Kombat was a mainstream film. What was
Yeah.
that perspective like?
Well, yeah, I think, like for example, even with Corey Yuen coming in, we did that whole sequence in like 5 or 6 hours, that whole fight, and that included everything, rehearsal, everything. They were setting the cameras, we were rehearsing our bits, and with Mortal Kombat, we had like 6 days to shoot that scene, that reptile fight scene, reptile Liu
Yep.
Kang.
Wow.
And I just remember walking onto the set and going, "Oh my God, okay, this is a whole different deal." They built sets, 2 sets inside a airplane hangar at the Van Nuys Airport. And
Right.
the sets felt big, and I had never seen that before, and they looked really cool. And so right away you knew it was just something different. And the director, Paul Anderson, I think he had such a vision for what he wanted. And then Robin Shu and Jeff Imada was also there. So it was just, you have all these people that are very focused and have vision, and working, and then they meticulously go through and shoot, everything from every angle, and
I would never know. I never worked on a budget like that. That's just incredible. Here's the irony. Wasn't J.J. Perry in the second one, the Annihilation movie?
yeah.
Was he in that?
I fought him
And
on he was Scorpion. He was Scorpion in the
oh,
second one, and I was Sub-Zero. We fought on the ice bridge.
right. And that was a great fight scene. And here's the irony. Wasn't Pat Johnson the fight choreographer for that? You got one of the best fight choreographers in the world, J.J. Perry, and yet you got Pat Johnson, who's not bad. I've worked for Pat before,
Yeah.
but Pat's no J.J. Perry for sure.
Oh man, that's funny. Um, yeah, I mean, I think we had Pat came on later because Robin was really the stunt. I mean, the fight choreographer on Mortal Kombat 2 until I think I think the producers felt or the director, I don't know, that maybe he was too busy and he couldn't get everything done. And I was pretty much like his assistant. I was helping rehearse all the different fights that were in the film and stuff like that, just helping actors and actresses work on fights. And we
Well,
had a
that was a
whole
good. You had
rehearsal.
a good fight scene. He did a good job
Yeah,
because I
and
thought your
I
fight
worked
scene was
out that JJ was playing a couple of roles, and so he couldn't rehearse with me for that fight. And so I worked it out with Ray, great guy, and I loved like rehearsing that fight with him. And I actually have to climb up JJ, like I step on his leg. He's like in a stance, and I step on his thigh, then I step on his shoulder and jump off the back and back kick him in the back of the head. And I actually did that, with no cables or anything, and it was just it was fun, and just pretty grueling though, pretty grueling amount of fights and stuff, and just
was your friend Steve Fisher on the set as well, helping out with Pat Johnson?
he didn't come on that one. He I did a pilot in Hawaii where he came as my trainer, because I always trained with Steve. Whenever I was just all the time. I trained at his school starting in about 1986, and at the recommendation of Arlene Lemus. She liked to train with Steve whenever she was out there, and he was really good friends um, with her. And so anyway,
I used to train with her as well. I used to train with Arlene as well.
yeah. Well, Steve ended up training Cindy. He trained me. He trains Chris Casamassa.
Oh yeah,
Trains he trains um, oh, so many people, you know, and he came and he actually did a stunt role in this pilot that I did in Hawaii, and he just did. I just miss him, you know. He's
I miss him too. I when I competed I fought him 4 times, and
yeah.
I would stay at his house when I go to LA, so we were
Oh,
very
really?
close friends. Yeah,
Oh man.
and he was the nicest guy. But sometimes I'll have somebody give me a hard time that Steve would just beat 10-0, But I had Steve's numbers. It was just something. And Steve would ask me, we'd go out to eat after. He goes, "How are you doing that?" And I wouldn't even tell him, But I had a certain couple techniques I could use against Steve,
Yeah.
and then we'd have Mike Stone come out, and then we giggle about it. We talk about it. It was kind of cool. But the reason I asked about Steve Fisher is in the credits for Mortal Kombat, it had Pat Johnson as well as Steve Fisher as fight choreographers. And I didn't know Steve
Oh,
was part of it.
I didn't realize that. Well, I didn't realize they had him as a choreographer, but he was training people all the time. Larry Kazanoff, the producer, started training with Steve,
Oh, that's
and
good.
you know he got a lot of work out of it, you know, and um, he's the one, according to Larry, he's the one who recommended me for Steve got me that reptile role, you
Oh,
know,
that's good.
and he never took credit for that, but you know, apparently
No,
he's the
he
one.
was a good human being. He was just
Oh man,
just a warm, just a great person to be with. I really, like you said, I'd go to his tournaments and we'd spend the night with him, and
yeah,
we stay up all night long just talking, even though I had to get the next morning and fight in his tournament.
yeah.
He's such a great guy.
Did you train with him too? Did you ever go to his dojo and work
Yeah,
out? Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, you know, like I used to go there every Wednesday nights for the black belt sparring, and you never know who you might see there. You
right,
get to work
right.
out with some tremendous guys, and it was just a fantastic experience. And he came up twice a month to teach at my school, and we'd always go out to dinner afterwards. We became like best buddies, you know. And
Oh,
I
that's good. What
just
a great
miss him.
person. I was fortunate being in Atlanta. At the Bout of Atlanta, I was working for a guy named Joe Corley, who was
Yeah,
promoter for Bout of Atlanta.
yeah,
And what people would do is sometimes for that national tournament, they'd come in the week before and train with me. And
yeah,
so I had the best of the best all over. I mean, you name it, George Chung, Ray McCallum, Al
yeah,
Frank, name it, anybody. Steve Fish, they all came in, stayed with me at the house, or come and we would just train, knowing that we had to fight each other, but we didn't care. We would just work out and train.
yeah. It's so
Those are
so
good times.
great to work out with different people from different backgrounds and stuff like that, and you end up learning so much, you know. It's so valuable, you know.
Well, I had a gimmick when I was competing, and I learned it as a white belt. I remember fighting a white belt tournament because we didn't have many back then. I think I lost a fight, and I didn't know what I was doing. I said, "That'll never happen again." So every tournament I went to, and I did this all the way through black belt, I would always go up to somebody going, "Would you like to work out a little bit? Just, warm up." And so I would always fight people, and you don't go that hard, but you kind of warm up right before your ring starts. And I made it a regimen that I do 8 different people every tournament. So if I ever lost my fight again, I'd at least had worked out with 8 people from 8 different styles.
Wow.
And so, and that, so wherever I went, I'd go to people, especially from different weight classes. And I'd go in and I'd go, "Hey, let's warm up before we fight." And everybody go, "Yeah, sure." They always were kind of nice about it. And I would learn probably more from those people than I would from fighting in a tournament, because in a tournament, you're kind of tentative, most people. And my
Yeah,
reputation kind of stopped people from coming after me most of the time. But
yeah,
then when I'm just working out, they didn't care. So I
yeah,
learned more from doing that. So I always had a rule: fight 8 people before I fought my first person. But I couldn't have done that if I didn't have a track background, if I hadn't developed my cardiovascular, my wind, where I could do that.
yeah, yeah. Well, you were a really relaxed fighter too, though. You know, I think that makes it even more of an advantage if you're relaxed and you have that cardio. That's a that's a huge thing.
I always said I can beat it Bruce Lee and his dad and Chuck Norris and his dad if they're tired. We're so tired, the
Yeah,
lactic acid builds up and you can't move. Well, I can beat anybody when they're tired.
yeah, yeah,
So I would put pressure on people. And when they're tired, you've been so exhausted where you go, oh my gosh, I can't lift my limbs. I can't. And that's what I want to get. I want to, when I competed against somebody, I want into that stage, if I could ever get him in that stage.
yeah.
And that's not easy to do though.
Well, I was amazed, on Black Creek with the way you move,
Oh
still.
shoot, I can't even believe it. But I tell you, you did a film. I know I'm running kind of late here, but I'm enjoying this so much. I know I'm not your typical interviewer. Typical
Yeah,
interviewer just asks questions. I have a conversation with you because I enjoy this as much as people probably watch it. But you did Beverly Hills Ninja, and I thoroughly liked that film. You
yeah,
had a good role in it. That's another big budget film. That's,
yeah.
that was such a great experience for you to get a role with big stars like that. What's something from that you remember, like a memory from that film?
Well, one of the things was that was when I met the director of that movie is Dennis Dugan. He's the guy who what's the big golf movie that everybody loves with
Pink Cup?
no the comedy with
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know you're talking about
Happy
with
Gilmore.
Caddyshack.
Happy Gilmore. Yeah. No, Happy Gilmore.
I'm talking about Happy Gilmore though.
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
He directed that movie too,
Oh,
and
that's great.
he became partners with Adam Sandler, and
Yeah. Oh
so Adam
wow.
Sandler would come to the set of Beverly Hills Ninja, but I end up working. You make relationships, and then I did the movie National Security with Martin Lawrence, and I was like I was Eric Roberts' right hand man, and so I was in almost every scene that he was in. So I worked for like 11 weeks on that movie, and he just called me up. Had his office call me up and said, this is national security. I thought it was a mistake phone call or something. I kept not calling him back, and then I finally, they kept calling, and I call and I say, yeah, this is Keith Cooke, and they go, oh yeah, you got the part, and I go, I got the part, and so he just handed me parts, on things after Beverly Hills Ninja, and a lot of times he'd hire me to train an actress if they had an action sequence, or
Shoot.
so it was a really good deal, and those movies have a shelf life, and the residuals are really good, on movies like National Security, and Martin Lawrence movies go on forever.
You know, was it hard to stay in character with Chris Farley? He
Yeah,
is so funny.
yeah,
How do you act with him without just breaking up?
yeah. I don't know if you remember, there was a scene in a van where we had
Yeah, I do
Nicholas
remember that.
Sheridan in the back, and he
Yeah.
was like he was hilarious, and I was supposed to keep a straight face, so it was tough. It was tough. Yeah, and he was
There's a guy named
yeah.
there's a guy named Jason Tobin. Did you ever get a chance to
Yep.
meet with him or know him?
Yeah, he actually came in and trained at my school one night. Uh, I sparred with him, but I
Gosh,
don't know him that well. But he's on Warrior, the
that's
series.
it. That's my point. He
Yeah,
played a busboy, he was just a young guy, had one line, and
yeah.
he's in there. But now he's gone on to be one of the big co-stars of The Warrior.
Well, he's a good actor. He's a really good, solid actor, and he's also got a great, interesting look, about him. And so yeah, I'm not surprised. I wasn't surprised when I saw him, being successful.
Well, I tell you, you've had a phenomenal career, and I don't think it's even weaning. I mean, you just did Black Creek, and I really predict you're going to be doing a lot more films because you're ageless, you're still in great shape, which kind of leads us to now to your fitness. And I went on YouTube and I watched some of your YouTube training sessions. I loved them. I loved the ring. Tell the audience about your ring, your core training, online
Yeah.
training.
I had I don't know if you remember now.
Yeah, Graydon, John Graydon,
Jim Graydon,
Great,
though. Jim Graydon
Jim Graydon.
is the
Yeah,
younger brother who's,
right.
was the kick. He won the Waco kickboxing in Europe, and he started this thing called it was called the Ultimate Body Shaping Course, and it was based on the Bill Phillips thing. And I've always been, really interested in fitness because the guys I trained with up in Seattle, one of them was a former NFL player, and he won the AAU Taekwondo heavyweight championship way back then. And he was one of my sparring partners. I used to just get my ass handed to me, and he'd hit so hard, And so
He's a big guy.
I'm really grateful for that. But he was a really into fitness. We would run stairs. He had all different ways of doing push-ups. You gotta jab the bag 500 times. And just kind of just anything you could think of, he'll think of a harder way to do it. And that was sort of my introduction to, and I started reading about fitness back then. And I was in my early 20s at that time, and I was really into fighting. I hadn't even really, this was before, I started going out on the national circuit with forms in like 1982 or 83. I think I won the Diamond Nationals in 83. But I was really into fitness. I never wanted to lose, like you say, really, like you would say, like if I could get somebody tired, I knew I could beat them. Well, I always had this thing where I said, I don't want to lose a match because the other guy's in better shape than me, which is exactly what you
Very
do
good
to
point.
people, right? And
Yeah.
I remember one time I fought Dan Anderson in a continuous point match. And I'm telling you, it was 3 rounds at 3 2-minute rounds, I think. And I think I kicked his ass the first round. And then the second and third round, he even said it. He goes, "Oh man, you're gassed. You're gassed." I always remembered that. And I was like, I never want that to happen to me again, And so I worked really hard at that. I worked at trying to be more relaxed, but also fitness. And the thing that was unique about what Graydon did, he wanted it to be Jim Graydon. He wanted this ultimate body shaping course to be strength training and cardio kickboxing. And you do it on alternating days, and you do a 10-week boot camp. And I started doing those boot camps at my school. And I already was teaching fitness classes at my school, but those boot camps were very successful. The ones that I started off running it his way with was with resistance bands on like Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and then Monday, Wednesday, Sunday we would do the kickboxing. And I got so many parents of like kids at my school to participate in those boot camps, and I got a lot of new customers that I wouldn't have otherwise met through that. And they got really popular. In fact, I don't know if you remember a fitness. She's considered a fitness guru. Her name is Kathy Smith, and she wanted a kickboxing guy, and she found me because I was running all those boot camps.
I definitely remember her. Yes.
Yeah, and she did a boxing one with a guy named Michael Elijah, who was he was a former like really top 10, boxer, middleweight boxer, and he had a patch over one eye. I don't know what happened to him, but he was very successful boxing fitness trainer in New York City. And she hired him to do the boxing one, and then she wanted to do a kickboxing one, and she hired me. She could have hired Benny or whoever, but it was because I was teaching a lot of these kickboxing fitness classes. And so I did that with her. I just kept trying to figure out ways of getting into the fitness industry. And I started feeling like those tubes were too cumbersome, the way they were made. And this guy brought this other device to me, but the tubes were too short and they would always snap. And so I was like, okay, I need to make my own tubes and get the thing to the right length. And I wanted a unique So I came up with the ring. And the thing that's really unique about the workout is it develops rotation. And I was telling you that you know, for golfers, it's really tremendous, but it's also good for any sport that does rotation. I've had a lot of people, I don't know if you've noticed this over the years, some people will rotate into a punch. Some people, you know, get stuck and they can't really commit like to a good right hand. And I'm always like really into good right hands, you know, like, or a good, you know, the cross, you know, coming from the back, the reverse punch, getting a good turn on it where you can go deep, you know, and really challenge someone, get some power in it and stuff like that. And that takes more strength and balance to do that, you know, and this really helps with that. I had people really develop their boxing skills through doing this and become stronger punches that are more committed, where they turn on their punches so much more and feel confident about it. And that's why I love that device. You know, it attaches to you, because when you attach, I've seen rotational devices where you attach to a wall or something and you're pulling. And that's what I used to do. I used to hook up to chin-up bars with those more traditional long fitness tubes with the handles on both ends and pull it over and grab both handles and do rotations and stuff. But the thing is, if somebody cuts that tube, you're going to fall. So in other words, you're compensating for all that resistance. It's like a tug of war with the wall. This one is a tug of war with yourself. So you don't ever overcompensate. It requires posture just like a punch, but it provides rotation as you take that thing around your body, and it's low impact. So you can go relatively heavy without injuring yourself. And you can do the more traditional extension exercises like chest presses and shoulder presses. And usually most of the exercises that we do combine the lower body, core, and upper body in the same exercise. So it's very functional. And I feel like it keeps me sharp for the kickboxing classes that I still teach too. And so I just love it.
No, I agree with you. I think it's the perfect, especially for as you get a little older. I need something with low impact because of my knees. My knees are okay. I play tennis and sports, but I have a hard time getting very low, you know, with my knees. So, and it's just the resistance that you have to have. And then I need to develop my core, and my core seems to be my problem. But you
Mm-hmm.
know, you said it right, because I can't name a sport where you don't need rotation. It's
Yeah.
golf, tennis, baseball, swinging, punching, whatever you do, it's the rotation
Yeah.
that creates your power. You know,
Yeah.
you lose your power when you're just doing arm strength or arm,
Yeah.
you know, you've got to put your weight behind it. So
And
what a
even
great
I would
device
even
you have.
say, you know, that people who do a lot of like arm strength exercises are more than likely to try to, like when they go to do a punch or something, to try to find the strength in their arm than in other
Exactly.
parts
Good
of the
point.
body, you know, where you create these kinetic chains through your joints all the way up from the floor. And that's why I love that this thing connects down all the way down on my heel, basically. And so it creates a really long chain of resistance that and you have to maintain your balance and posture in order to do it. So I'm just
Let me
really,
ask you a let me ask you a question about this. I watched some of your courses. They were great. I mean, I love it. So do people, will they contact you? Will you be teaching the course, or you just sell them the apparatus with the DVD? I mean, how do you do that?
well,
How is somebody interested in this?
I have a website with a ton of classes on it and instructionals, and everything's broken down. Yeah. So they can do it on their own without me. But I usually try to help people too. Like I'll get in a Zoom with them and show them how to use the product, and not charge them for that, just because I want to get this thing out there, because I think I can help a lot of people. And I think, you know, I used to do it in my school classes, and it was the most popular fitness class that I had. And it was I got a lot of people who didn't want to do martial arts, but wanted to do a general fitness class. And I think it'd be really good for school owners. I think I was telling you this, in Arizona, who want to get fitness classes in their class and keep themselves in shape at the same time, because there's a lot of school owners who get way out of shape. I'm sure you know plenty, you know, and it's good to teach some fitness classes in your studio. You know, you don't have to kill yourself. You could do,
I,
you know, 4 a week or something like that. And now you're in shape and you're making money teaching a, you know, a fitness
so
class.
to contact you, will they go to keithcookfitness.com? Is that how that's at your website?
They should email me at keithcookstudio@gmail.com. And
Okay, Corey will have that on the screen as we're doing
yeah,
this. So
yeah,
he'll
that'd be
make sure
awesome
that's on the
because
screen.
I'd
But I
love to
will,
help people start getting it in people's martial arts
it,
schools, and in particular, teach school owners how to do the classes. You know, they're pretty simple. There are formats, you know, for the classes, and it's not hard to memorize at all, and it's very, very valuable workouts, very productive.
no, good. I really enjoyed watching.
I'd love to
I
show you.
started getting addicted. Huh?
I have this he's a former professional golfer and he's 62 now, and he both of his knees are bone on bone. And sometimes when I'm training him, I train him one on one. But
Yeah.
he, I think of you because I know your knees are
Yeah.
bugging you, and but
Bone on
there's
bone.
a
I'm the
lot of
same way.
stuff you can do. There's a lot of stuff you can do where you can work around injuries too,
Right.
and that's what this guy does, and he does a really good job of it. So
No, good. Well, let's do this. I want to thank you so much for coming on as a guest today. And I'm going to encourage as many people to contact you and to start doing the ring, the low impact and resistance training. I think is so good for them. This has been a pleasure for me. I feel like I'm part of the audience listening because these are stories I wanted to hear about. But I'm fortunate to be able to ask you these questions and enjoy it, firsthand like this.
yeah,
So this has been really cool for me. So I
oh,
just want to thank you so much. It's
thank
such an
you.
honor having you on this show.
Oh, I'm honored, and it's such a. This was like the most fun interview I've ever done. So I just feel, you know, like and thank you again for that dinner in the desert with you and Kathy. You
Yeah,
know,
my
we
pleasure.
went to Denny's. We went to Denny's.
Yes,
Remember?
we did. We
And
couldn't find a place. Remember, it was the
yeah,
only place
yeah,
open.
yeah. Well, I
Well, let's.
enjoyed that so much. You know,
Yeah,
and
I enjoyed. I was only there for a week with Kathy, but it was one of the best weeks ever in my martial arts. I told Kathy, I said, it's the little things. It's the getting with friends and reconnecting and
yeah,
experiencing all that, meeting all these new cast members. I just loved every second of it. So
me
listen,
too.
I want to thank you again.
Thank
And
you.
for those watching at home, please, if you like this interview, I want you to like it and share it. And of course, always subscribe. Till next time, ciao.